Songs of Praise, which comes from Haverfordwest, and it's introduced by Ian Gall.
Haverfordwest lies in the southwest tip of Wales. They call it the Little England beyond Wales. And ever since the Saxons came here to do battle with the Celts, the people seem to have preserved a curious mixture of the two cultures. The real secret of Haverfordwest's success is the River Cleddau. That's not just because they tell me that you can catch trout and salmon here right in the middle of town. I say they tell me because, as you may gather, I'm not exactly an expert at this sport. But this used to be a very busy commercial port. About 100 years ago, there would have been sailing ships moored up alongside this quay, traders from Spain and France. And before that, quite a few Welsh pirates who did a tidy line in stolen brandy and silk. Today, although Haverford's mayor is still officially admiral of the port, the quayside has lost much of its former glory. The nearest cargo ships are several miles away at Milford Haven, one of the country's biggest oil terminals. The tankers may not have the romance of the old sailing traders, but they bring the 20th century lifeblood of industry and employment to the area. Tonight, a congregation of Welsh voices from Haverfordwest and its surrounding villages has come here to the Tabernacle Congregational Church to sing their songs of praise, beginning with Charles Wesley's great exhortation, "Come, let us join our cheerful songs." This beautiful countryside has been a source of inspiration to a great many artists. People like Augustus John, who lived in Haverfordwest, and more recently Graham Sutherland. I know it may not look at its best on a day like today, but Sutherland loved this place and often came here to meditate. He would find inspiration from all sorts of things around him, perhaps a strangely shaped tree by the water's edge, or even a pebble on the beach. Today, many of his paintings are admired here in a gallery set up by Sutherland as a way of giving back to the people of Pembrokeshire something of what he felt he'd gained from the area. The gallery is a testament to his love of the abstract form, as it is to his other fascination with the image of Christ's crucifixion. His interest in religious themes led to perhaps one of his greatest works, the huge tapestry of Christ in Glory, commissioned for the rebuilding of Coventry Cathedral. And that glory of Christ is a theme reflected in our next hymn, "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say."
I came to Jesus.
Melanie Codd makes her living selling cars.
I'm the only lady salesperson car-wise in this area at the moment, and I work selling Land Rovers. This involves going to farms, demonstrating vehicles, taking the farmer out on a test drive, and eventually carrying things right through to clenching the deal. When they telephone and they ask to speak to a salesman, they're surprised to speak to me, and when I arrive on a farm, they're even more surprised.
You're a lay preacher at weekends. What background does this job give your preaching?
I think it probably gives me a more realistic outlook. I find that my preaching gives life more meaning, and hopefully my life gives my preaching more meaning then, my day-to-day life.
And tailoring the message for the congregation must be very similar to tailoring the message for a customer.
Oh no, you've got a product knowledge book for Land Rover. There's no product knowledge book for life, so it's just a case of reassuring them and trying to find or give them strength in some ways, giving them hope. And that's what I try to do, sort of instill a bit of life into their Christian faith. Strive to be happy no matter.
And happiness is the theme of the hymn that you've chosen.
Oh yes. Oh happy day that fixed my choice. The day that I chose, and also then 'tis done the great transactions done. I am my Lord's and he is mine. He drew me and I followed on, charmed to confess the voice divine.
Oh happy day that brings my joy, only my Savior and my Lord. When it is low, in heart rejoice, and tell his virtues all alone. Oh happy day, oh happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. He brought me home to watch and pray, and live rejoicing every day. Hallelujah, happy day, oh happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. Give them the praise, the precious Son. I am my Lord and He is mine. He drew me out, I followed on, shouting to confess the voice divine. Oh happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. He brought me home to watch and pray, and live rejoicing every day. Hallelujah, happy day, oh happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. Where's my Lord, divided heart, in from this soul through the heavens, nowhere the crown, my Lord found, with him of every good possess. Oh happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. He brought me out to watch and pray, and live rejoicing every day. Hallelujah, happy day, oh happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away.
In its heyday, boats laden with wool and hides from the farms around sailed from Haverford Quay to Europe and the Americas. The town grew up on its trade in agricultural produce. Sadly, nowadays, there are few reminders of those rich days. The warehouses have been turned into fashionable restaurants, and the once world-famous Llewellyn churn works lie empty and unwanted. But a little bit of the town's history does live on just outside Haverfordwest at the Scolton Park Country Museum. Here in this massive exhibition hall, they're building Trethoi, which means yesterday's town. They've collected all sorts of farm machinery from all over Pembrokeshire. Tractors, ploughs from last century, and my favourite, this magnificent threshing machine from the 1930s. And they even have some of Mr. Llewellyn's famous butter churns, another reminder of the things of the past for the people of tomorrow. And appropriately, the young people of the Tabernacle Church sing for us now. Far round the world, thy children sing their song. Michael Townley has been a vet in Haverfordwest for over 20 years.
When I first came down here, it was almost entirely an agricultural, a dairy practice. Sadly, over the last 2 or 3 years, of course, what with farm quotas coming in, we've seen quite a number of changes. In those days, it was 20 individual cows that you'd go to, and now, of course, you can spend 2 or 3 hours on a farm doing herd fertility examinations and other preventative medicines. Nowadays, for economic reasons, we very rarely see the animal more than once. We hope that we can cure it with just simply one attendance. So we get our moments when we get stuck in bogs and such like. And certainly early in the morning on a really nasty day, if you have a cow that's down on the ground that's having difficulty in calving, you really do get soaking wet. And indeed, on a few occasions when I've been on my knees, I do offer up a silent prayer. But it's a very satisfying job. Yeah.
And the hymn you've chosen is about a morning experience.
Yes, the hymn I've chosen really fits my way of life very nicely. It is morning has broken like the first morning. To me, this hymn not only describes quite vividly an early morning in the spring, certainly, but it also reminds one that one has to renew one's faith in God on a daily basis. After all, the Christian faith and Christian ideals are not just for Sunday, they're for everyday use.
Annette and Gavin McCoy are blind. They met whilst training to be physiotherapists and now have a 3-year-old daughter, Rachel.
But I've never really looked at the heavens and said, why me? I've never looked at it like that. I think I've just accepted that these things happen and that is the way that it is. But I have often prayed that one day I'll be able to see again, not just for myself, but to be able to give Annette and Rachel a better life.
And how about the fact that you've never seen Rachel?
I don't think I'll ever really know what she looks like. Because, you know, people do see things differently. I think I know what I know what she looks like to me, put it that way. It doesn't really matter.
Now, a little while ago, Rachel had eye problems. That must have been a very distressing time for you both.
That was the hardest time, yes, definitely.
What happened?
When she was 9 weeks old, it was discovered that she had the same eye condition as I had, which we knew there was a 40% chance that any children we had would have it. But I think until it was actually said to you that she's got it, you never really thought that it would happen. Then she had to have one eye removed when she was 9 weeks old, which it was a very distressing time, and I think that is the time that really I, anyway, sort of turned to God and prayed, and she has been fine since. Her other eye is perfect and hopefully will remain so.
How did your prayers help you?
I think they helped me anyway to cope at the time, knowing that God was there. And a lot of people, I think, would have thought there was no point in praying because the fact that it had happened, that, you know, that she had got the eye condition and she'd had to have the eye removed. But I didn't feel that way. I felt that perhaps that's when you need God most. You turn to him, and I think gave us strength at that time.
And that's very much what the hymn you've chosen is about, Abide With Me.
Yes, it is a hymn that has always been one of my favourites since school days, when we used to sing it there.
Joan and John Thomas live on a farm just outside Haverfordwest. John's reputation as a harp maker brings him orders from all over the world.
I suppose every harp really is different. I've always been fascinated with the shape of the harp. And because I was one time seafaring, ship's carpenter, it reminds me very much of a boat. My father was a craftsman, of course I followed him like he'd followed his father. And my son, Alan, naturally followed me. To be a good harp maker, well, calculated once that you'd have to be pretty proficient in about 14 different trades. They say that the pupil should exceed the master, or the master's fail. Well, I don't tell him, man, but I watch him all the time, and he's getting very good. Harps, sailing ships, and women all have beautiful curves. They took away that curve at the top, the harmonic curve, they call it, and made it straight. It'd be nothing. It'd be a frame to hang your shirt on or something. But that beautiful curve and the sound, it's so glorious, isn't it?
John, these are magnificent instruments. Do you play yourself?
No, not a note. I sort of rough tune them and leave it to the harpist then.
Is that not very frustrating to make such a beautiful thing and not be able to play it?
Well, you don't get the time, really. It's such a lot of work in the harp that at the end you're exhausted and you're glad that it's done and eager to hear it being played by somebody else.
It's quite a busy life that we have here. We have lots of friends come. They like to come. We've got a friend who says it's like a pool of tranquility in a mad, mad world, and that pleases me very much.
What do you think gives the background to that pool of tranquility you're talking about?
It's this belief that there is an ever-loving God, and so I do as much good as I possibly can, and I think the background of the religious life helps to give you a sort of instinct in these things, and I enjoy doing it, really.
But John doesn't share your views, does he?
I think heaven and hell are on this earth. And anyway, they tell me if there aren't any lathes in heaven, I'm not going.
But plenty of harps.
Oh, yeah. But there again, see, look at the work waiting for me. They'll open the door and there'll be a room full of broken down harps for me to repair.
But the hymn you've chosen it because you like the tune.
Yes, I think the tune is everything with a hymn.
And the words are special to you, Joan.
Yeah, the chorus, Arglwydd dyma fi, I am coming home, coming Lord to thee. Wash me, cleanse me in the blood that flows from Calvary. And that means a lot to me.
The minister of the Tabernacle Church is the Reverend Christopher Gillam.
Our church here has always been very, very concerned to think about the younger people. You hear people sometimes saying that children are the church of the future. Well, of course, that's true. But as well as being part of the church of the future, they are part of the church of the present. And we do feel that they should be mixed in and encouraged to enjoy worship on Sunday and enjoy a time of fellowship and playing together. Every part of life is something that God is interested in. Lord, may we remember you, serve you, and love you in every day, every moment of our lives. And now, may the blessing of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, rest and remain with you today and forevermore. Amen.
That programme will be repeated on Tuesday afternoon at 2:25 on BBC Two. And next Sunday's Songs of Praise for Remembrance at 6:35 links the two cities of Coventry and Dresden.